Hi, this is Llarold, and today I'm going to be talking about the Mage Tower Artifact Challenge for tanks. The challenge was added in patch 7.2, so it's been out for a while. Tanks have been rebalanced since the challenge was released, but aside from an initial nerf that was really badly needed, the challenge is basically the same as it has been. Even with gear, I found this to be immensely harder than the DPS challenges for Warrior, and it can definitely seem insurmountable at first. I found myself wiping pretty early on in Phase 1 for the first few pulls, and then very suddenly wiping halfway through Phase 2. I completed this on Warrior and Monk. Unfortunately, I didn't actually record the final pull on my Warrior. I tried it for a while, decided I wasn't gonna get it, and cut off my recording, and then said, what the hell, I'll do one more. I don't want to go out like that. And then of course I killed it on that pull. So here are what I consider to be the keys to this challenge. Mobility, first off, is humongous. I use Bear Tartar, and I would definitely use Bear Tartar on any class. The ability to get sudden bursts of a lot of move speed, I think pretty strongly outweighs 350 stats. Self-healing tools are also really important. On my Warrior I also wore the self-healing bracers. Last, but by no means least, is DPS. This whole challenge is a huge DPS check, and once mobility and survival are covered, it's pretty much all about maximizing DPS after that. With TOS gear, the soft enrage isn't horrible, but it's still tight. I definitely found it to be close. As you'll see at the end of the video, I actually died on the attempt and just had him low enough that Corvus finished him off for me. My Warrior's kill was a lot cleaner, but of course I didn't bother to record that. Whoopsie. So here are the specifics of the fight. You have to kill Inquisitor Varus in Phase 1, and then as soon as you've killed him, he summons High Lord Cruel, and then you kill him. And then you're done. While you're doing that, you also have to keep your team alive. Your team consists of Corvus, who's CC'd during all of Phase 1, and then helps you out by doing a little bit of DPS during Phase 2. You also have Velen, who spawns healing orbs around the platform that CC everything and heal you to full whenever you run over them. You just kind of have to keep a mental tally of where they are. They do despawn after about 2 minutes or so, and he likes to spawn one about every 30 seconds. So as for Inquisitor Varus, he's a caster mob. He chain casts Mind Rend. Generally, you want to try to time your interrupts at the end of the cast, because as soon as you interrupt, he'll probably try to start recasting it. He also has Drain Life, which is super important to either CC him or interrupt him to prevent him from casting that. Making things more complicated, he also has a life reduction aura about 5 to 10 yards around him. Whenever you step within the aura, you gain stacks of a debuff that lasts for 10 seconds and reduces your total health pool by 10% per stack. So the only way to DPS Varus is really to hit and run. You want to get in, get about 3 or 4 stacks, and get as much damage as you possibly can in, and then get the hell out of there. Let your stacks fall off, and then get back in. You do need to balance this around interrupting Drain Life, depending on what your class is. You know, if you're a monk, you can just simply paralyze to interrupt the Drain Lives, and it's really not a big deal. If you're a Pally, obviously Avenger Shield. If you're a Warrior or a Druid, then it gets a little bit more challenging. Varus obviously isn't the only thing you get to face in Phase 1. It wouldn't be a tank challenge without a ton of ads. There are also eyeballs that spawn randomly around the platform. They channel a cast onto you. If you're not facing them at the end of the cast, you'll be knocked back. So you need to get to them and kill them. That's pretty much all there is to it. They don't really have a lot of health. There are also Infernals that spawn, and they're kind of the soft enrage for the fight and for the first phase. If you're getting more than 3 Infernals during the first phase, you're probably not going to be able to finish the fight. Infernals really only have 2 abilities. They burn their health off until they're down to 20%, doing a little bit of spell damage. And they also do a giant knockback cone in front of them. It has a graphic, but the cone actually extends further than the graphic, as I found out over and over and over again while doing it on the Warrior. It sucked. One thing about the Infernals is that they don't actually die. They reform after a while, which is part of what makes them into the soft enrage for this fight. Lastly, the final ads, and the only ones that really act like normal dungeon ads, are the Nether Horrors. They're 4 guys that spawn kind of on 4 corners of the room. They come shrieking in like bats out of hell, and they auto-attack fairly hard for spell damage that adds a stacking debuff, so you basically just want to cleave them down as quickly as possible. Once you've killed Varus, Cruel will jump down onto the platform. Phase 2 isn't really that different. You don't have to deal with the eyeballs anymore, which is nice. He has 3 abilities that he casts seemingly at random order and random intervals. He has Annihilate, which does humongous damage, by far the most deadly thing. It adds a stacking debuff of 130% damage taken increase. He'll also periodically Nether Stomp, where he leaps up in the air, lands on you, and leaves a green fire pool on the ground. It does face-melting amounts of damage as well, especially once you've combined it with a couple stacks of Annihilate. You need to get out of that immediately, and it's really important to save your mobility tools for that. His third ability is Twisted Reflection. That one he casts way less often than the other two, but it's absolutely vital that you interrupt it. You only have about 2 seconds to kick it. If you don't kick it, it's a guaranteed wipe, because it'll make him heal for 5% of his health with every single hit. You still have to deal with Infernals and Nether Horrors, which are pretty dangerous in this part of the fight, especially once you're combining that with things like Annihilate. There's one other mechanic that I can't really find on Wowhead guides or really anywhere. I just call it the purple lines. Every now and then during Phase 2, Cruel likes to spawn in a trio of purple lines that kind of come dashing across the middle of the room. I ran away from them terrified because I thought they would hurt or kill me. They didn't actually seem to do any damage, they just try to sweep you off the platform. So you just kind of want to avoid those. I ran through them, I even tried jumping over them. I don't know if that actually worked or not. I couldn't really tell whether I was just running through it or jumping over. Run through them and jump over them, I guess. If you can consistently get into Phase 2 with only 2 Infernals up, you definitely have a good shot of finishing this fight. That's really what Phase 2 turns into. It's just a DPS race. Can you kill Cruel before Annihilate, Nether Stomp, and the ads kill you? The answer is actually no for me, but got him to less than 0.5% of his health left, and thankfully that was enough for Corvus to finish him off. If you do have any class-specific or spec questions, please ask in the comments section below. I'd be happy to help out. I've been streaming a lot on Twitch at Llarold Live, and you can find us on Twitter at WoW at Night. Thanks for watching. Bye.